Alrighty, folks, so we are here to recap the latest episode of Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. Why? Well, because number one, it is the most viewed television event maybe ever. It's like 25 million people watched the first couple of episodes. Number two, because it's interesting to see whether Hollywood has any grasp whatsoever on the sort of philosophy and ideology of Tolkien. This video is sponsored by ExpressVPN. Alrighty, so we are now on to episode 3 of Rings of Power. And I have to say, there is some improvement. So number one, the entire plot line with Galadriel and Halbrand, okay, thank you. The entire story arc with Galadriel and Halbrand actually now progresses because we figure out who Halbrand is. It turns out that Halbrand is the leader of the Southlands. He's basically Aragorn, but for the Southlands. Also, more importantly, we find out that the Southlands are about to become Mordor, right? That's really what this episode is about, is Galadriel realizes that brand symbol from Sauron is not, in fact, a brand symbol of Sauron. It's not like a Nike swoosh. It actually is supposed to represent the map of the Southlands, which are now being turned into Mordor. And that part of the story was interesting. Plus, we actually got a little bit of Tolkien-esque referencing from Galadriel, which was nice to see, because otherwise this thing basically reads like Wheel of Time. She started talking about how it wasn't fate that had brought her together with Halbrand in order to fight the forces of Mordor. Instead, it was something higher, which is obviously a reference to gods. That's kind of nice, considering J.R.R. Tolkien's entire series is rooted in Christian mythology.
Ours was no chance meeting. Not fate, nor destiny, nor any of the words men use to speak of the forces they lack the conviction to name. Ours was the work of something greater. You must see it.
All I see is an elf who won't put down her sword.
Come with me to Middle-earth, and together we will redeem both our bloodlines.
Okay, so look, a motive. Cool. That's nice. Because before it was just like she's really pissed. And one of the things that you get when you read good theater is that there's always an arrow pointing to the next scene. If you read Shakespeare does this all the time. At the very end of one scene, there's sort of an arrow pointing to the next scene. So good. This creates forward momentum. We now have some forward momentum. We know that they are going to eventually make it out of Numenor, and they're going to go to Middle-earth, and they're going to fight the forces of, not Morgoth, but I guess his lieutenant or his successor, Adar. So that's the other thing that we are finding out, is that there is a successor. This is the storyline, including a former star of The Bachelor, I guess. This is something Savannah pointed out. I would never have made that reference on my own. So credit to Savvy, once again, for the pop culture Bachelor references. In any case, they find out in the course of this that the leader of the orcs is a person or thing or being called Adar, and that they are at war with this person. So this is the big revelation.
Wait! Bring him to Adar.
Okay, good. So now we have, we're going to point this forward, right? We now know that there's a bad guy called Adar. So we're pointing that we've got some forward story momentum here. Okay, meanwhile, we are introduced to some characters who actually have some legacy to them, right? Isildur. You remember Isildur?
Isildur!
Isildur from the original Lord of the Rings trilogy by Peter Jackson. That's the guy who takes the ring, right? He's given this one opportunity to end all evil, and instead he takes the ring because men above all else desire power. We are now introduced to characters whose names we recognize, which is cool. We did get introduced to a sister who doesn't exist in the Tolkien mythology because, again, Amazon feels the necessity to add random diversity characters. Again, whatever. And all this is good. By the way, we're introduced to the faithful, which is, again, a Christian reference.
Elendil, an uncommon name from our western shores, is it not?
It originates there.
Pray tell, what does it mean?
One who loves the stars.
That is not its only translation, is it?
In the ancient tongue of the Eldar, it can also mean elf friend.
Then are you an elf friend?
Okay, so the Elendil in the Tolkien-esque mythology are supposed to be like Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, right? All the people who didn't abandon the tradition. We'll get to more on Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power recap in just a second. First, let me ask you a question. What if there was someone out there who kept a log of every single thing you did every minute of the day? That would be weird. What if I told you that's exactly what happens every time you go online? Your ISP, like AT&T or Comcast, they're allowed to store logs of every website you've ever visited. They can legally sell that data to anyone, which is why I use ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN reroutes your internet connection through their secure servers, so your internet provider can't see or log what you do online. Now, some of you might be wondering, well, if I'm routing all my data through a VPN, doesn't that just mean the VPN can see what I'm doing and log my data instead? Many VPNs claim to have a no logs policy, but some have been caught logging customer activity. ExpressVPN is the VPN I trust because they use trusted server technology. They were the first major VPN provider to engineer all of their VPN servers to run in RAM. This makes it impossible for their VPN servers to store any data at all, including logs of any ExpressVPN customer. You don't have to take my or ExpressVPN's word for it. ExpressVPN is so confident in their no logs claim, they even had one of the biggest assurance firms, PwC, audit their technology. And here's the thing, ExpressVPN is super easy to use. All you do is you take out your phone, you hit the ExpressVPN button. And right now it says that I am not, in fact, connected. And this makes me sad. So I hit the button, and behold, I am now connected. It's just that simple. So stop letting people keep logs of what you do online. Visit expressvpn.com/BenYT right now. Find out how you can get 3 months for free. That's expressvpn.com/BenYT. Okay, so that's the good stuff in this episode. We now have some forward momentum. We know what's happening in the Southlands is going to turn into Mordor. We now know what Galadriel is doing with Halbrand. We have been introduced to some characters who are going to have some pretty significant importance for the actual final battle against Sauron that's going to end with not throwing the ring in the giant volcano. Okay, now we get to the bad stuff. Oh no. So everything Harfoot related is terrible. Every single element is just horrible, and it takes forever. Here's the thing. When Peter Jackson made Lord of the Rings, he just cut out Tom Bombadil, which is good. Okay, we don't need more of that. We don't need bad poetry for 70 pages. And when it comes to the Harfoots, we don't need 2 minutes of them marching through, repeating slogans about not leaving people behind when they're literally about to leave somebody behind. That's the entire plot line of the Harfoots. The entire controversy among the Harfoots is whether not Frodo, who's a girl, not Frodo, girl not Frodo, whether her dad is going to get left behind because he broke his ankle. That's literally the entire storyline of what's happening with the Harfoots. And I got to say, don't care. Don't care in the slightest. Don't find it interesting. Don't find it to be moving the story forward in any way. It's just not good.
Train. That's right. Nobody goes off train. And nobody walks alone. Nobody goes off train. Come on. And nobody walks alone. Nobody goes off train.
It just keeps going. They've repeated this now 5 times, by the way.
Nobody goes off train.
It's not even a good chant.
Nobody goes off train.
It goes for like 30 seconds. Okay, and then later, at the end, we find out that Gandalf can push a cart, which is really exciting. So they're like, wait, you know what we used to do? When somebody broke their ankle, we just used to like leave them behind to get eaten by wolves. These are the nice people, by the way. They couldn't figure out, like they have wheeled carts. They couldn't figure out like how to have animals driving those wheeled carts. No one's ever been injured or sick among the Harfoots ever. You just kind of leave them behind. My favorite is when they give the tribute to all the people that they left behind. They just read like 1,000 names. It's like a Joe Biden speech. And Bill, stand up. Oh, Bill, I'm sorry. You can't stand up. It's amazing. Like you have old Harfoot leader, and he's like, and here are all the people we abandoned to their deaths because one had a case of an ingrown toenail, and he couldn't move for 2 days. We were like, well, Bob, I'll catch you in the afterlife, my friend. The big revelation here is because Gandalf is big, he can push a cart, which is really exciting stuff. I'm glad we spent 20 minutes of this episode on this. This is literally the entire controversy among the Harfoots is whether Dad Harfoot, whether his broken ankle means that we can't move him.
We're going to be left behind.
No Brandyfoot has ever been left behind.
Our laws are clear. Any Harfoot that breaks them is to be decaravanned.
Oh, no.
Tomorrow we depart as planned.
Well, that's very stressful music.
The cart will be with us.
Oh, well.
At the back of the caravan.
At the back?
At the back.
Holy moly. At the back of the caravan? What? Not like in the middle? Like at the back? That's crazy. That's like one step from being de-caravanned. Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah, this stuff was all bad. Okay, other things that are bad from this episode. The entire sort of weird controversy that happens with the elves not wanting to cut the tree is very strange. The reason that's strange is they've already decided on a plan at this point. The plan is we need to get one of us free so we can go tell the other elves so they can come fight, right? That's a good plan. By the way, that plan, you know when that plan would have been super useful? Is when he decided, Elf Guy, whose name I don't remember, when Elf Guy, before he jumped into the hole by himself to investigate, that would have been an amazing time to go get the other elves and be like, guys, we got a problem here. There's a giant hole filled with murderous beings. Instead, he's like, what if I just jump in this hole by myself? And then shockingly, apparently, all of his friends did the exact same thing. So that's pretty cool. They decide to have a useless fight over a tree while planning an escape. You know what's dumb? That's a bad plan. Usually when you're about to escape a prison, what you do is you then have you start a useless fight with the prison guards about whether or not to uproot a tree. Genius stuff here from the elves. The immortal, wisest, and fairest of all beings. They're supposed to be super smart. I'm not seeing the smartness here. Here we go.
These roots block our path. Then rip them out. Rip the whole stinking tree down.
Felling a tree will slow our progress. We shall go around.
Try and help, and I will make a mess of your back.
This tree sprang from the earth long before you crawled from whatever wretched place you grew.
Oh, good God.
It has earned its place in these lands.
He's literally saying, my favorite thing is like, this tree is super old. It earned its place. You were spawned from the land. I mean, that seems a little intolerant. Not to be politically correct here, but if they were born of the land and the tree was born of the land, I mean, it seems like them being evil is more the problem here, not that they were spawned from the land. Also, like, we're going to have a tree fight now? This is where you draw the line, is the cutting down of the tree. Like, they're beating the living crap out of everybody. Like, really, like, they're, like, whipping people, and he's taking a chain. He's like, I'm going to whip your back. And he's like, you touch this tree, man, and that is one step too far. And then, of course, they slit somebody's throat over the tree. And that guy's got to be thinking, man, really, over a tree? They have a weird theory about how to break chains. Like, so much of what the elves are doing is just like, the director's like, you know what'd be cool is if we had a shot of a lot of chains on top of each other. This is not how you would, like, okay, let's assume that you wanted to break chains with an axe, which is what they're going to try and do. Would you try and do it like on an individual link, like exert the most force possible on an individual link, or would you pile them all in the center and randomly hit them? Apparently, the elves, who are supposed to be smart, they're going to pile them all in a crisscross formation and then hit the center of them. It takes them forever to break these chains, by the way, like forever. Why are they doing it this way? No one knows. Okay, now meanwhile, they decide to have a tug of war. Now, I assume that the premise of this tug of war is that they are trying to pull these orcs into the light because the orcs can't handle light. But there they are in the light. Like, apparently, it's super bad if they're in the light, but they're fine in the light. They just don't like being in the light. But apparently, it's like some sort of crippling blow to them to be in the light. Like, which is it? No internal logic here. Okay, and then we have the warg killing literally everyone except one elf guy who can fight. So one elf guy who can fight is an awesome fighter. He's like Legolas. He's a pretty cool guy. Yeah, you can see this guy's a really good fighter. He's like very good at the fighting. He's got kung fu skills and all the rest. But all the other elves suck at this. So here's the elves sucking at this. Okay, here's a strangely cute warg. Okay, lady's like, okay, I'm gonna get, nope. Sorry. Nope, catch you later. Oh, and here's Bill. Bill's about to take it right in the stomach. Okay, and now he's running, nope. Sorry, gonna take that one right in the back. Up, boom. And that dude takes it directly like Boromir. Probably it turns out that getting in that big war with all of the orcs was really dumb. You should have just been super quiet and cut your chains and left. Again, at least we get some forward momentum in the elf story. I will notice that in this episode, they were just like, remember there was single mom lady who was in love with elf guy? And you remember Bronwyn? No, I don't either. She wasn't in this episode. They're just like, yeah, she's boring. We don't care about her anymore, which is good. I mean, less of that. If we could do the same thing with the Harfoots, if we could have just Gandalf abandon the Harfoots and do something useful, that'd be great. Here is the bottom line recap. We have some actual forward momentum now. I want half the characters to just disappear. And then we can move forward with the story. They're taking far too long to do the plot. So there is the good, bad, and the ugly of the latest episode of Lord of the Rings. We will keep you apprised of future developments.